Hello and welcome to the 11th episode of the Dirty Side of the Grid podcast. We've turned up late to qualifying and we've qualified on the dirty side of the grid. But since my name is Lance Stroll, we're starting on pole position. I'm Yusuf and this is my co-host Mohammed. And this is like the sixth try to record the beginning of this episode, so yeah.
You know what?
We haven't done this in a while, that's
Yeah, no, me and my old friend, we'd call it a bit of rusties.
Yeah.
So not just rusty, but you're covered in rusties, dripping in it, some might say.
Yeah.
So,
anyways, on with the episode. So basically, this episode, the next episode, we're going to be recording intro to F1 series, where we're going to be talking about kind of like beginner stuff and then maybe a bit more advanced stuff. And we'll cover kind of all the big topics related to kind of F1 essentially.
So this is going to be like so we're doing another two-part series. The last one was the season review. This time we're going to do a complete like from the ground up basics understanding of F1, and then next week is going to be more technical, getting into the engineering, the cars, the aero, the engines, that kind of thing. But this one will be like very basic from the complete start. You know, like absolutely nothing about F1. We'll try and go through everything to get you up to speed before the start of the next season. So I guess from now we'll just start off with the history of F1 then. So shall we get into it?
Do it.
Let's do it.
I have no clue.
It's fine, we're the experts. So F1, the F1 Championship started. There were races beforehand, but the first like actual F1 Championship, the same as we have them now, started in 1950. Ferrari was actually entered in that, and obviously they're still there now, so they have a rich history in the sport. Do you have like a favourite Ferrari era?
Probably, I think everyone, probably Michael Schumacher, that kind of era.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, I think for everyone that's kind of the iconic era, isn't it? They just totally dominated everyone.
Yeah.
And I think with Michael Michael became kind of like the brand image of the sport. He became kind of like everyone, whenever someone referred to F1, they were kind of referring to Michael. He became synonymous with the sport. And so I think that's why kind of Ferrari at that time became kind of...
Definitely, yeah. Like if you speak to half the grid, like most of them talk about Michael being their idol when they grow up. So most of the F1 drivers of today grew up watching Michael Schumacher, and they were fans of him growing up. I mean, even his son's in the sport now as well. Yeah,
probably like the other era would be like Niki Lauda, like it's like early 70s.
Yeah,
late
yeah,
70s.
It would have been something
late
like that.
70s. Yeah, that car actually looked really nice. Like as in like that shape. I really like that.
The evolution of F1 cars is incredible, and we'll probably get more into that for the next one. So Ferrari's been in the sport for a long time. McLaren...
They've always raced, so since the start of the actual championship, Ferrari have been there. Like besides, I think they actually ran white colours. I think for one race, where they were not there for like one race, something like that, as a protest for them. Like they were gonna leave essentially. Like
they love doing that. They love playing that card. But they just threaten to leave every 5 seasons.
Because the sport is synonymous with Ferrari basically, but they never actually left. I think besides one race or something where they did it as a protest, they've raced in every single race up to today.
It's crazy. Actually, I think I saw a stat quite recently, which was the first time two Ferraris didn't manage to complete the first lap of a race they were in was Singapore 2017. I think it was 17 when Vettel and Raikkonen crashed into Verstappen.
I said Kimi and then I said Raikkonen as if I'm correct.
They're two different people. But yeah, so they're the most, obviously seeing as they've been in the longest, you wouldn't be surprised to hear that they're the most successful in the sport. Every time Ferrari has a drought, they don't win anything, they come back eventually. Like it's a safe bet to say, oh yeah, it doesn't matter how long it will be, but eventually they'll come back. Maybe
to refer the amount of money they have and the amount of engineers they have, they're gonna come back eventually. Obviously,
the resources are massive.
Before this year, there wasn't kind of like a cap on the money. So
interestingly, they get paid millions just for entering. So this is completely separate from prize money. just the fact they'd entered into the season,
They
they'd
got
get
like an
paid a
extra
massive
60
amount.
million, I think.
It was something ridiculous, yeah. And
Yeah.
obviously they'd get more than the other teams. Like McLaren and Williams would get a bit as well, but not as much as Ferrari.
It's called, I think it was like a heritage fund essentially, whereas
Yeah, that's
like Ferrari got like the most, and then McLaren, Williams, and Mercedes I think got a bit, and then basically everyone else.
Yeah, they wouldn't get as much as we've had. We'll get into the different teams later, but like just specifically history-wise, we've got Ferrari the biggest, McLaren also there. They have a rich history. They have periods of dominance as well. I'd say the most iconic has to be pretty much everyone's favorite car is the McLaren MP44.
Yeah,
which is
I think that
I think
era
same
was
as well.
just like insane. But I think like out of the big car brands we have today, like the only one to actually start in F1 and then become kind of like a road car and develop from there was McLaren.
Yeah, they made the
Whereas
road cars
Ferrari-
afterwards, didn't they?
Yeah, Ferrari was actually like a road car and then they got into Formula One. Williams has always been an F1 team, they've never made a road car. All the other teams were road cars and then they like came into the sport, like sports cars, and then they came
Yeah.
into the sport. McLaren was the only team that actually started off as a Formula One team and then branched out and made essentially like, now they have sports cars and road cars and such.
Yeah, because they don't tap into the like average market. They go
Exactly.
straight in for the high performance cars and stuff.
Yeah, but like if you look, they have like, I think I sent you like a video where they have a factory or like a massive storage unit, McLaren,
Oh yeah.
with all like the Formula One car, and it's just beautiful.
There's some nice. I think a couple years ago actually, F1 posted a video. I'll try and link it if I can find it. It was just an animation. Imagine like a blue background, the outline traced of an F1 car, and it varied from 1950 up until now. And they had a steering wheel in the top left corner or something, doing the same thing. And it's really interesting to see the evolution of how they changed and what they looked like. Because honestly, the 1950s cars, if you look at it, looked like a tin can. Like it literally just was a tin can. And then there was a massive hole in the front for where the driver would sit, and that was it. And then slowly they'd introduce wings and stuff, and they'd keep making better designs.
Downforce. A lot of like the technology we have in cars today actually came from Formula One. So like paddle shifts you have in cars nowadays that originated in like Formula One, like it became like widely adopted in Formula One. I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually like designed for a Formula One car and then adopted, but it was widely used in like, was it like Formula One in the beginning?
I think it was it was like mid 90s or something. I think Ferrari might have been the first team to introduce it.
And then like stuff like increasing downforce, like downforce essentially became a big thing in Formula One.
The sleek car designs you see today, like the bar of soap looking kind of cars, they come from F1. Like before, everything was literally just a square, and it was just a fat block. And you can tell how modern a car is based on how sleek the curves are, and that's all from F1 as well.
It's the idea of like
and the
studying
hybrid stuff.
aerodynamics essentially and how to decrease your drag and like improve your performance through just aerodynamics rather than like putting a bigger engine in the back.
Yeah.
That was kind of the solution at the beginning, was you want to
was.
do better, put a bigger engine.
Famously, Enzo Ferrari actually said, I think he said aerodynamics is for people who don't know how to build engines.
Yeah.
So the idea was, if you want to go faster, just build a bigger engine. But obviously now we're
I
focusing
think
more about aero.
every single F1 team now would disagree, but
Yeah, we'll get into aero later, and not too much, but we'll do like a little introduction.
but Williams is another big F1.
Yeah, so Williams, up until the Mercedes dominance that we've seen today, it was like distinctively the third best team, which is very surprising because it was started by Sir Frank Williams, who actually died quite recently, like only a couple months ago, and he made this team just by himself. He started it up, him and like I think one other guy, and they started it in like a carpet factory just outside of Oxford, and they turned it into a dominant team so fast. Like they dominated a lot of the 80s and a lot of the 90s.
Had some really good drivers.
Yeah,
then it was a bit down.
they've
The
had some
start of the
legends, right?
2000s was kind of a bit disappointing.
No, yeah, they've been in a bit of a slump since then, but
yeah,
they've changed ownership now and they're moving on. So that's the teams, I guess, of the history.
Mercedes has been there since the start.
I guess
they
it's
did
worth
leave-
mentioning Mercedes as well.
They did leave, but like the first few championships were won by Mercedes. Like at the beginning, Fangio won a few with Mercedes at the beginning, and he had that iconic kind of Mercedes design where it looks like
Silver
a tin can.
yeah.
And then Mercedes left for a bit, but Mercedes like kind of kept in contact, even if there wasn't a Mercedes on the grid. There was generally someone who was running a Mercedes engine at some point.
Yeah, they did produce quite a lot of engines.
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton loves saying like, "Oh, I've been driving Mercedes engines my whole career," and
Yeah.
that's because Mercedes supplied McLaren's engines back then.
Exactly, yeah. And I think even like Mika Hakkinen with McLaren, they had a Mercedes engine in the back.
Yeah.
Kimi.
So we're talking from the late 90s through the 2000s.
I think before that, I'm not sure, but I think before that they were still like, I think from the I think from the mid-90s they came back providing engines. I'm not sure before that what was the situation. I think they took like, there was a big accident, if I remember correctly, there was a very big accident where they were involved, and then I think they took like 50 years out essentially, where they weren't involved in any racing. Or like
I'll
40
describe
years
this in
out.
the description if I can
Yeah.
find it. I'll do a bit of context in there.
I'm not exactly sure. Like I remember reading something. They took like a big hiatus after like the first few thingies, because I think it was like related to Le Mans, I think, or like some big. No, I think it was F1. There was like a big accident where a car went into the fans and like a few people died, like 80 people died. So I think there was a big hiatus. I think it's related to this. If I do,
I'll have a look. I'll try to put it. Yeah, I'll put a little paragraph or maybe like an article or something. I'll link something down there to try and give context. But yeah, so ever since about last couple of years, Mercedes have now, they became a team in 2010, and then since they changed the rules, which we'll get onto later, in like 2014, they've won every single constructors championship, which we'll also describe a bit later. I'm trying not to define things too. I'm trying to like group this properly, but yeah, so Mercedes are now also like about the same in terms of most successful teams. They're still on the grid now, they're still very powerful now, and a lot of people are actually expecting them to do well next year, so we'll see how that goes. In terms of drivers, we already did Michael, 7-time world champion, 91 wins.
If you put it in context, I think Michael has won like, out of all the Formula 1 races, he's won like 8.5% of all the F1 races in history,
That
something
sounds
like that.
right, yeah.
That's insane. Like when you actually stop and think, one driver has won like close to 9% of all the races. And you think of, like I think Michael should, like out of all the drivers, when you talk to like someone who is not interested in Formula 1 at all, today, whether they're old, they're young, it doesn't matter. And you say Formula 1, they say one thing, and that's Michael Schumacher.
Yeah.
His name is to today. Like I think that's what we're talking about, like why Ferrari became so big, or like why that era where he was at Ferrari is so like iconic, is because of him. It became so like, because he was so dominant, and people compare him to like I don't know, Michael Jordan or Messi or Ronaldo, those kind of like, he was just above everyone else. And so I think he became kind of like the personality that whenever someone thinks about the sport, it kind of goes to him essentially. I think that's the
and it's completely justified because the era of dominance we mentioned earlier with Ferrari, including 2000 up until 2004, were some of the like most dominant F1 cars we've seen. Like the F2002 and then I think 2004 as well were like levels ahead. I think even in 1999, he broke his leg in Silverstone. And came back and he's still like almost won the championship. Like if he didn't break his leg, he would have had that championship wrapped up completely. So there's some insane stats. There was one season he was
97. He was 1 point behind the guy.
Oh yeah, there was that. Yeah, and just to round off this kind of dominant period with Schumacher, there was one season now. He's lost the record for the most podiums in a season to Verstappen last year.
But that's only because the season is a lot longer now than it was back then. It was 17 races, now it's 23.
It was 22 this year, and it was 17 in 2002, and Schumacher was on the podium in every single race, which is incredible considering reliability wasn't as good as it is now, and
unless you're
just in terms of driving and stuff. Unless you're Mercedes, yeah. But
that feels so weird saying, I'm not gonna lie.
What do you mean?
As Mercedes are known for being extremely reliable, and then their engine this year has just been
strange. Yeah. But to be fair, they haven't had that many engine. They haven't retired from it. They just take penalties. Anyway, we're not going to get into that. So, on top of that, we've also got the tracks, which is another historic part. there are certain tracks which have been on the calendar from the start. There's also other tracks that have been in pretty much almost every season. The most historic ones, there's quite a few, but I'd say the biggest four would be Monaco, Silverstone, Spa, which is in Belgium, and Monza, which is the Italian Grand Prix. Those are the most iconic ones. There's also, you could say, Suzuka in Japan.
Yeah, I was going to say that. The Nürburgring.
Nürburgring in Germany, yeah, that was another one. Spa and the Nürburgring both had like bigger layouts.
Fuji.
Oh yeah, Fuji's on there as well. But Spa and the Nürburgring, if anyone's played like a racing game, the Nürburgring, you can get the Nordschleife, which is the famous like massive long one. That's the one they used to use for F1, but obviously after accidents and crashes and stuff, they swapped that one out and they use a shorter version of both now. Monza as well actually used to have a longer layout. But
Yeah, it used to have like this massive like banking, which they removed, which is kind of sad to be honest.
Yeah, it was insane, that one. If you see pictures of it, it's mad. But I mean, do you have a favourite out of these? People don't really like
Fuji.
Monaco anymore. But
I Fuji is just like, it's that one racetrack where you go look at it and you're like, the racetrack was just beautiful. Honestly, like, as in like, the first time I actually saw it was in we're gonna talk about this a bit later, but like Niki Lauda's the movie where it's about Niki Lauda and James Hunt, and like the racetrack below like the mount is just amazing. So I'd say that one. Suzuka is really special as well. You didn't mention the Brazilian Grand Prix.
oh yeah, Brazil's so historic. Yeah, Brazil's nice. It's very nice.
Yeah, I'd say my favorite would be Silverstone, Monza, Suzuka probably in Brazil.
Fair enough. Those are good choices, to be fair.
Spa would kind of be like the closest.
I love Spa. So if anyone's got like a racing game, or if you get the F1 app or something, they have like an app now where you can play the game. Like race anything around Spa, race anything around Monza. I'd say Spa's the favorite, but if you want to do like Monaco, if you want to rage, Silverstone,
I like Spa. I just don't like the back part of Spa. Like as in, you know, like they go up the hill and around. That's like to the end of the track. That part.
Oh, you
That's
hate
really
the middle
nice.
sector?
I just hate the rest of it.
I love all of it. It's so fun. Once you hook it up, it's perfect. Like
No.
it's so.
You know, they go downhill and then I just
Yeah.
like from that.
No, it's fun. It's fun. Don't listen to it. It's
I'm
actually
just
fun.
not interested.
It's good.
It's
You're
too
just
long.
mad at the
Spa-
game.
No, I've never actually played it. Like I've played
There
it.
you go.
once.
Look at that.
But as in, the track is just way too long.
I prefer it like that though. It flows nicely.
It does. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's like the longest track.
It's better than short tracks though.
It's the longest track on the.
Yeah, but it's better than like Austria. Lap times in Austria are like
Yeah,
one.
I'm not saying no one's saying like Austria is good. I'm just saying like Silverstone is way better. Brazil is way nicer. As in it's long, but it's not that.
Brazil's tiny.
Yeah, but it's not like Silverstone's fine.
Yeah,
Spa's just way too long. Spa's literally the closest that came to it was Saudi, and Saudi, the new Saudi track is amazing. That you have to add that one. Like the new
It's not
Saudi track.
historic.
It's not
What
historic,
you
but
think?
that track is amazing. Like, I have not watched a race besides like what happened at the race, but as in the actual layout of the track, it's just amazing. Like the fact that it's so close that if you do anything wrong, you're just straight to the back. You know, that's the issue with all the tracks now because, like, they have way too much runoff. I think George Russell mentioned this where he
They
said
do,
that
to be fair.
he hates runoff because you can make a mistake and just come back in. Whereas if you make a mistake in Saudi, you strain the barrier after the race.
Well, yeah, that is the thing that's in common with a lot of these old tracks is they don't have runoff, they have grass or they have gravel traps, or like Monaco, they just have walls. So I guess that's what makes old fans love them so much because it's just the risk factor to it, I guess.
Yeah,
So
and
as soon as you make
it's
mistakes,
right on
it's
the
fine.
edge. Like when you look at the cars, they're going maybe in certain parts like 300 kilometers per hour, and then you have to like brake and go and like, you know, in Monaco there is that right left turn where Charles stuck in the wall.
Swimming
this
pool
year.
chicane, yeah.
I'm not
You
sure.
mean swimming?
Where
Or just
they
after
basic-
the swimming pool?
Yeah, you see
Yeah,
all,
it's just after the swimming
you
pool.
see all the
chicane, yeah.
drivers. They basically they like the tire just
I'll- yeah,
touches.
yeah, yeah. I'll put this one in the description as well.
That
I know
is-
exactly
That
what
is
you're on about.
that is like, you know, they just kissed the barrier.
Yeah.
That is like when that's so beautiful.
It's
Like,
satisfying to
you
watch,
just
it's so
look at it and
satisfying.
you're like, that's incredible. But yeah, I'd say you have to put Saudi in there, not as a great track, but not as a historic track.
Yeah, it's alright to be fair. We could get into a.
It's a great
I don't know.
track.
What are some of your like? Do you have any standout moments from any of these, like Monaco, Silverstone, Spa, Monza?
Monaco. I'm trying to think. Monaco would be Ayrton Senna going one-handed around like with his hand. Like that one is just how he does that. I don't know. Like
That's different.
because they're going they're going so quick. So that kind of Monaco that stands out. I don't think anything else stands out, to be honest. Silverstone. Lewis winning in the wet, where it's like 60 seconds, like where he laps everyone. He laps Felipe Massa, who was like his title competitor. That was too funny.
Lewis is elite, yeah.
Spa is like, and here comes Sebastian. He overtakes Lewis. That's the sick one.
People love that clip. Yeah.
That's amazing. Or like Pierre overtakes. I think it was Sergio Perez, like up there.
Yeah, we linked this one a couple weeks ago.
That was good. That was amazing.
I guess Monza has to be either Charles Leclerc winning or Pierre Gasly winning.
No, I was gonna say Sebastian winning in 2008. That's more.
Oh yeah, that was good in the race.
Because he led pretty much the whole race.
In the Toro Rosso as well. I shouldn't have won.
Yeah,
That's an AlphaTauri today.
How he took pole and led like basically the whole race, I don't know. That just showed like he was, like when people say he's not that talented, people have no clue what they're talking about.
Yeah,
like, he led in a Toro. He took pole and led pretty much the whole race. That says everything you need to know. Brazil would be. I'm trying to think. There's so many moments in Brazil.
It has to be Senna.
But like,
to be fair, it's been the title decider quite a few times. So
yeah,
there's some good moments, but Senna winning his first home race is like
that one.
There's a radio of him like screaming.
There's that one. I think you have to say that, like, even if it's not.
Yeah, and obviously this was like 80s, so this is before our time, but like still.
Okay, that one, but like as a second one, would be like, you know when Michael Schumacher let Sebastian by to win the title.
Oh, right.
And if you didn't let him pass, he wouldn't have won the title. I think that was a special
ironically a race that ended under the safety car.
Yeah.
We'll move on now to actually, to be fair, just to round off the history section. Lewis Hamilton now.
He's won 9.2% of all F1 races.
He is, so 7 times, should have been 8 world championships. 103 wins, I believe. The only black driver ever in F1. And he's the most successful. Like, he has so many records. If I listed them now, we'd be here, like, for the rest of the episodes. Like, honestly, it's...
For 2 minutes.
You fully know he has all the records. But
so salty, bro. Relax.
Kimi
has the most important one, bro. He's raced the most in F1. Kimi's raced like what? 30% of all F1 races. Just actually think about that.
Has he actually done that?
From the 1950s?
He doesn't have 30%.
No. He's raced like what? How much is it? How many races is it? Actually, Google it. Maybe it's 20 something. No, 30%. I think it's 20 something. On the suspense of Google.
I actually
podcast.
Surely no. I think it's just over 300. Oh wait.
Yeah, the whole F1 has been 353, so like about 30%.
353. So if we've done like 1,050.
No, it's like 1,200 and a bit.
We haven't done 1,200.
No, 1,050. Okay, maybe it's 1,050.
We'll do over like 340.
Yeah. So 30%.
Oh, it is actually just 30%. That's insane.
Shut up. Listen to me
so
when I
bad.
say something. That guy raced for a third of all the races in F1.
And he doesn't even care. It's just a hobby for him.
Bro, Kimi, I think like that's actually the sad part where Kimi's raced so far after his prime that people now when people think of Kimi, they think about like Kimi being funny. They don't think about Kimi, how dominant he was. Like, Kimi was so dominant and Kimi never cared. Like, people dedicate their whole lives to winning an F1. Kimi just wins by showing it. Bro, like his first race, he was napping to like half an hour before the race. Someone came and was like, you have to wake. Bro, there's a race. You're gonna race a Formula 1 car in half an hour. It's like, the guy's still asleep. And he went out and he got like points. Like,
I swear he was, so the people talk about what season was it? I think it was 2005. No.
3.
It was 3. Yeah, 3. They said he peaked and he should have won and all of this because the McLaren wasn't reliable. and then I think there was another one. It was like 5 or something,
I think it was 2005.
where he was also like really good, but the car wasn't reliable enough or good enough. So
He kept retiring essentially, and then he won in 2007 when no one thought he was gonna win.
yeah.
But that's because Lewis, couldn't
It's
handle
because
the pressure.
it's because McLaren was.
No, he couldn't.
It was
handle the pressure.
Spygate. They weren't allowed to win if
No.
I slipped and something. You know, there's actually a theory about that. There's a theory. So Lewis was asked about this in
Lewis
2011.
lost it in China,
No.
bro.
Yeah, but why did they leave him out for so long?
He lost it in
Why
China.
did they leave him out for so
He
long?
lost it in China, bro.
Why did they leave him out
did he
for
get
so long?
stuck in the gravel?
Because his
'Cause he can't
tyres were
drive.
gone. They were
He
literally
can't
gone,
drive.
Bono. The tyres were gone. Bono, the tyres were
He
gone.
didn't set the fastest lap though. But the truth of the matter is, Lewis can't drive.
The face, bro. The face is back. Right, listen, we'll move on from the history
The
section.
Lord of the Eyebrows is better driver than him. I just heard someone say about Fernando Alonso, the Lord of the Eyebrows.
Yeah, I think it's
And I just
I
found
think
it
it's
so
Josh
funny.
Ravel.
Yeah,
refers to him as that.
I just found it
We've
so
got
funny.
to. I've got to link that picture of Alonso down. Like Alonso's had some horrific outfits back in the day.
But
Like,
all
he's
of them, I sent you a video
He's
of
a
all of
strange
them.
looking guy.
Like
but
Michael had that like fur one, Lewis had like the,
He
the
went
like
the
Vodafone,
baggy jeans and that with the Vodafone shirt. Yeah, it was
and then
crazy.
Fernando had like the bandana.
He had the weird glasses as well.
And the
Bro,
weird
guy is
glasses and
strange.
it was just blue and yellow and it was weird. Like he looked like that looked bad.
Strange. Alright. I guess we'll just wrap up the history segment.